Hi, I'm Joe Walensky, and I'm the program manager for Seattle's annual user experience conference called ConveyUX. We've done it 6 times before. Now we're going into our 7th year, and it's going to take place March 11th, 12th, and 13th. And I'm talking with another one of our great presenters that we'll have at the event. And today I am talking to you with Tracey Jackson. Hello, Tracey. How are you today?
Fine, Joe. How are you?
Oh, pretty good. I'm at the Blink offices in downtown Seattle. Where are you talking to us from?
I am talking to you from bright and sunny Hollandale Beach, Florida. It is a nice balmy 85 degrees outside right now.
All right. Well, that's a definitely different change from where we're at. So you're down in kind of the metropolitan Miami area. So it's good to have you involved in the conference, and appreciate you making the trip across the country for this. But why don't we start out for people that may not be familiar with you and your work, just talk a little bit about your background and the types of things that you're involved in.
Okay. Well, I am a user experience designer. I like to say more so a specialist because I have a heavy background in user experience research, information architecture, building of taxonomies, and of course, along with research, heuristic evaluations, user studies, expert reviews, as well as in-person and virtual user testing sessions. So along with creating designs, wireframes for web and mobile applications, I have like a really heavy research and a touch of strategy and a little bit of content strategy background. So I like to call myself a specialist more so than a designer.
And where are you working at now?
I am working at PwC Digital. So we have offices in Hollandale, Chicago. I believe we're opening up one in Dallas. We have one in LA, and we have one in Tokyo, Japan, and a few others. So it's a really exciting time to be a part of the PwC Digital family.
Now, I know that refers to Pricewaterhouse Coopers, but possibly some other people weren't familiar with that. Obviously, that organization's been around for a really long time. How does the digital services part fit into Pricewaterhouse?
Great question. So anytime I tell folks I work for PwC, the first thing they think about is, are you an accountant? I'm like, no, I went to school for computer information systems. So about maybe 3 or 4 years ago, about 5 years ago, PwC started their digital offerings. They wanted to be known for more than great tax and auditing and other insurance practices. So they opened up that offering for digital and for mobile and for web, and so far it's been very successful.
And so what's a typical day in the life at PwC Digital for Tracey Jackson?
First, a hot cup of tea. Everyone has their coffee. I have my hot cup of tea. But a day in the life could be anything from looking at new design trends, looking at new UX trends, and possibly just looking at some of the tried and true and remixing them to create really delightful experiences. So it could mean anywhere from designing or even doing some evaluations, looking at existing mobile apps or websites for our customers, for our clients, and basically saying, hey, here's where you're at right now. Here's what we can do to help get you to the next level. So I just run the gamut from design to research and, of course, a little bit of content strategy.
Well, we'll talk about the session at the conference in a minute, but are there any new and exciting things going on, new technologies or processes or techniques that you're working with?
Oh, wow. So right now, I am such the research nerd. So right before this, I was doing some user studies. Now, not user studies in terms of what UX is and heuristic evaluations, but more so of the cognitive and the psychological end of human behavior that goes into, or shall I say, that really informs what our heuristics are. So a lot of color theory, why certain colors work and why certain colors don't work within a mobile experience or a web experience. And also cognitive load, why it's important not to inundate the user with a lot of elements on the screen because they only can really memorize 1 or 2 or 3 at a time. So that was really cool to learn some psychological principles in terms of how humans think, how humans behave, and that really informs how we design. So just taking that 10,000 foot view and just looking into psychological principles was just awesome.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the session that you're going to do at the conference, which is part of our project work interest area. We have several different streams of content, and yours is titled How Agile and UX Can Work Together, and we're going to have several sessions on different ways that different organizations are using Agile. So why don't you talk a little bit about your experience with that framework, methodology, and what we can expect from your session.
Awesome. So I worked on several Agile-based projects, and we all have the ceremonies, we have the stand-ups, and everything moves very, very quickly. Week-long sprints to 2-week or bi-weekly sprints. So when you think about it in terms of UX, how can you really fit the whole entire gamut within these very short sprints? How can you fit it within a Scrum team? How can you really get an optimal user experience knowing that you're pretty much moving at the speed of light and you have to have that shippable increment, the shippable increment toward the end of the week, and you haven't had the chance to fit in studies. You haven't had the chance to fit in interviews. You haven't had a chance to really do some of those exercises that help UX be a really good forefront for said user, whether if it's a mobile application or whether if it's a web app. So I'm going to talk about how as a UXer you can kind of scale over those tough points to really make sure that your users are getting an optimal experience.
Now, does your work with that, is it based on other or techniques that are within PwC Digital about Agile, and or are there things specific to the work that you're doing where you've had to customize the process?
I will honestly say specific to the work that I'm doing, there isn't like a set process to handle UX within an Agile approach within PwC. It's basically you treat each project as a different beast, and you kind of pull from your UX toolbox to see what's going to work, what's not going to work, what's going to fit, what isn't going to fit, and just you have to roll with it.
Well, I know you've also been involved in the professional community of UXers in South Florida. So maybe talk a little bit about that. I'm not too familiar with that, how things kind of are for the community in that area. I'm certainly actively involved in the Seattle area.
Mm-hmm. We have a thriving UX community down here in South Florida. We have IXDA, and we also have the UX Dev Summit that just kicked off, I believe, a few months ago. So being that we may not have as many companies like a New York or a LA or a Seattle, but the companies that we do have and the UXers that are embedded within each of these organizations, we normally get together and we share our thoughts, and we also educate the interested college students. We have University of Miami down here. We have FIU down here. We have Nova. And we reach out to those interested students who want to get into design, who want to get into user experience. And we host once a month or maybe even twice a month UX-related events. We also already have Iron Hack down here, which are the more robust programs for working professionals who want to pick up the skill fairly quickly. We have Miami Ad School, who is going to be launching a program pretty soon in UX development and design, and also UX strategy too. So we have a thriving community down here, and we are really, really turning our gears and educating each other as well as those who are interested in getting into the field.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to chat with us about this, and we'll look forward to seeing you in Seattle in March.
I look forward to coming to Seattle. Can I get a free cup of Starbucks?
Yeah, sure. I'll buy you a cup of coffee. All right. Thanks a lot, Tracy.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.